The Simpsons has been on air for over 35 years, and in that time, Springfield has lost some of its own. But these aren't background characters who vanished quietly. These are deaths that shocked fans, changed storylines forever, and proved that even in a cartoon, nobody lives forever. Some deaths were played for laughs, others hit you right in the gut, and a few were so dark you had to wonder if you were still watching a family comedy. So let's count down every major character The Simpsons permanently killed off, and why each death still matters. Nick Callahan, mauled by a drug-addicted otter. Nick Callahan appeared in one episode back in 1997 as a shady realtor. Then he disappeared for 27 years. And when he finally returned in 2024's The Yellow Lotus, it was only so The Simpsons could kill him in the most absurd way possible. Nick sold The Simpsons a worthless timeshare. Homer and Marge track him down at a luxury resort to get justice. But before they can confront him, karma strikes first. Nick gets mauled to death by a drug-intoxicated otter in the resort's waters. This is The Simpsons at its darkest and weirdest. They brought back an obscure character from nearly 3 decades ago, just to give him a bizarre, violent death as a punchline. Fans were stunned that the writers even remembered Nick existed, but that's the genius. The Simpsons never forgets. Even its most forgettable characters eventually get a send-off. Amber Simpson, drug overdose at an amusement park. Remember Homer's Vegas wife. Amber was introduced when Homer and Ned drunkenly married 2 waitresses during a wild Vegas weekend. She briefly lived with the Simpsons before the marriage was annulled by tricking her into marrying Grandpa. Years later, the show opens with Amber's funeral. She died of a drug overdose at an amusement park. Specifically, she collapsed in front of a "Do Not Stand Up" safety sign on a roller coaster. It's morbid, it's dark, and it's played almost casually, like the show is tying up a loose end it forgot about. Amber appeared in only 2 episodes total, but The Simpsons gave her one of the bleakest endings in the show's history. No comedy, no redemption, just a throwaway character meeting a tragic, realistic end that reminds you this animated world has real consequences. Alice Glick, the woman who died twice. Mrs. Alice Glick has the distinction of being killed off twice. In season 23, a rampaging robot seal attacks and seemingly kills her, but she later appeared alive in background scenes like nothing happened. 14 seasons later, the show finally commits. Alice keels over during a church service and dies for real. Producer Tim Long confirmed it. She's dead as a doornail this time. The long gap between her 2 deaths became a running joke. The Simpsons spent over a decade pretending Alice's first death didn't happen, then suddenly decided to give her actual closure. It took 2 tries, but Springfield finally let her go. Larry the Barfly, the silent regular's final call. Larry had been sitting at Moe's Tavern since the very first episode in 1989. Rarely spoke, just drank quietly in the background while Homer and the guys talked. For 35 years, Larry was there, until he wasn't. In Cremains of the Day, Larry suddenly collapses and dies at the bar. Homer, Moe, Lenny, and Carl realize they knew almost nothing about their friend, so they take a road trip to scatter his ashes and learn about his life. The episode is surprisingly emotional. Larry never had lines, never had storylines, but The Simpsons gave him a full tribute episode that treated his death as genuinely meaningful. Fans responded with real sadness for a character who'd been nothing but a background fixture. That's the power of 35 years. Even silent characters matter. Fat Tony. Heart attack, instant replacement Springfield's mob boss doesn't go out in a blaze of gunfire. Fat Tony dies of a heart attack when he discovers his trusted associate betrayed him. Stress kills the crime lord, very un-mobster. But here's the twist. Fat Tony's cousin, Fit Tony, immediately inherits the role, and Fit Tony eats himself into the exact likeness of the original Fat Tony, taking his name and position like nothing changed. The Simpsons killed off a major antagonist without actually removing him. It's meta-commentary on the show's resistance to change. They created the drama of a character death while humorously restoring status quo. Fat Tony died. Long live Fat Tony. Bleeding Gums. Murphy. Lisa's first lesson in loss. When Lisa is hospitalized, she discovers her jazz mentor, Bleeding Gums Murphy, in a nearby bed. They share stories. She loans him her saxophone, then he dies overnight. Lisa learns about death, about loss, about honoring memory. She uses an inheritance to buy Bleeding Gums' album and convinces the radio station to play it across Springfield. As the music broadcasts, Bleeding Gums appears in the clouds with Mufasa from The Lion King in a playful nod, his saxophone solo reaching the entire town. This was the first major character death in Simpsons history. Though Bleeding Gums only appeared in 2 episodes, his passing was deeply impactful for Lisa's character. The show blended humor and genuine emotion, proving it could handle heartfelt moments. Fans still remember this as a standout tearjerker from the golden years. Mona Simpson. Homer's mother dies on the couch. Homer's estranged activist mother returns seeking reconciliation. Homer is wary, hurt, unresolved feelings simmer. Then, just as they begin reconnecting, Mona dies peacefully on the Simpsons' couch overnight. Homer wakes to find her gone. She left a note detailing her final wishes, sabotaging a decommissioned missile as one last act of activism. Homer tries to give her a Viking funeral on a lake, which fails comically. Eventually, he fulfills her request and finds peace. The episode was dedicated to the mothers of Dan Castellaneta and Harry Shearer, the voice actors for Homer and Mr. Burns. Mona's death brought closure to a storyline spanning multiple episodes since season 7. It's one of The Simpsons' most tender episodes, showing the pain of losing a parent with grace and gravitas. Frank Grimes, reality kills. Frank Grimes enters Springfield as a hardworking everyman who cannot believe Homer's incompetent life. He becomes obsessed with exposing how undeserving Homer is, and it destroys him. Grimes finally snaps. He parodies Homer's behavior, grabbing live electrical wires with bare hands, something Homer somehow survived earlier. But this time, reality kicks in. Grimes electrocutes himself to death in front of the entire plant staff. At his funeral, Homer falls asleep and mutters comically, oblivious to the tragedy. Frank Grimes was a character who reacted to Homer like a real person would, and it killed him. This is The Simpsons' darkest satire of its own cartoon logic. Someone playing by real-world rules meets a grim fate in Springfield's absurd universe. Grimes' death is legendary among fans as a bold commentary on reality versus absurdity. Edna Krabappel, A Quiet Goodbye. When voice actress Marcia Wallace died in October 2013, The Simpsons retired Edna Krabappel permanently. No dramatic death scene, no episode-long funeral, just quiet, respectful acknowledgement. The first episode after Wallace's passing had Bart write on the chalkboard, "We'll really miss you, Mrs. K." Later episodes showed Ned Flanders wearing a black armband, looking at Edna's photo. The implication was clear, she had passed. Edna had been central to many storylines, disciplining Bart, romance with Principal Skinner, eventually marrying Ned. Her departure left a void at Springfield Elementary and made Ned a widower for the second time. The producers vowed never to recast her, honoring Wallace's beloved portrayal. The simple tributes won praise for handling loss with class. Edna's quiet goodbye left a hole in Springfield's heart, a real-life loss gently woven into the show's fabric. Maud Flanders. The T-shirt cannon tragedy. Maud Flanders was killed by T-shirt cannons at the Springfield Speedway. Cheerleaders fired shirts into the crowd. Homer, seated below Maud, distracted them, then bent down. The shirt struck Maud, knocking her off the top bleachers to her death in front of Ned and their boys. This was the first time The Simpsons permanently killed off a recurring main ensemble character. The aftermath explored Ned's faith, his grief, his struggles as a single father, Homer's guilt. The funeral scene played straight, no jokes, just genuine loss. Behind the scenes, voice actress Maggie Roswell left over a salary dispute in 1999. Producers saw story potential in Ned's widowhood. Executive producer Mike Scully noted they wanted Ned to face a challenge and grow after years of status quo. Maud's death was a gut punch. Many fans call it one of the saddest moments in the series. It fundamentally changed Ned's character and proved The Simpsons could tackle devastating loss without immediately reverting to normal. Her absence is still felt decades later, testament to how dearly audiences cared and how boldly the show ventured into genuine heartbreak. From absurd otter attacks to heartbreaking goodbyes, The Simpsons has killed off characters in every way imaginable. Some deaths were dark jokes, others were sincere farewells. But each one proved that even in Springfield's cartoon world, loss is real, change is possible, and nobody, not even animated characters, lives forever. These 12 deaths shaped the show's history and reminded us that behind every yellow face is a story worth remembering, even if that story ends.